And we're live again.
All right.
Great to be back in action.
That's right.
We're going to talk today about some mysterious chains.
That's right. And what I want to do, or what we like to do, is if anybody out there that hears this is able to get additional information, post it for us. Because I looked it all up, I tried, and there's very little out there. But it's a mystery, and a lot of our viewers like mysteries. And so here it goes. These are two chains that are found in this province. It's called El Baul in Venezuela. Okay? The story goes that these chains have been there for over 1,000 years. Okay? Now, they're long. They're actually about 328 feet long.
Wow.
328 feet long. Okay? And so that you can picture it, one link is about 9 inches long by about 5 inches wide. One link. Okay? And that one link is made out of solid steel, and it weighs about 154 to 156 pounds, which is like 70 kilos, I believe. So they are amazing.
It's full of links.
Yeah, there's two lengths of them. They run each 328 feet long.
Oh,
And I think they're like 15 feet apart. And they're out in the middle of nowhere in Venezuela, in this place called El Baul. That's the name of the town. Now, there's a lot of folklore that goes with it. It's called El Baul because apparently in the 1740s, when the Spaniards were out in that area, they came across these chains, and they were protecting this big chest. And that's how it gets the name El Baul in Spanish, right? And this was a huge chest made out of wood, huge, to the point that they stopped for the night, and many of the Spaniards slept in that chest. So, in my mind, it's got to be like the size of a house for all these Spaniards to be able to sleep there for a night. And then the following morning, as the story goes, apparently half of them continue on their journey, and half of them stayed with a church representative. And then that church representative named the town San Miguel del Baul. Okay? But there's a lot of folklore that goes with that. Now, people have gone out there to look at these links, and apparently you cannot find the welding edge. They're perfectly made. They don't show any cuts. They don't show any welding edge. And you know how links go like this and they interlock.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the welding edge is hidden in that. But they're solid steel. They weigh a lot, 150 pounds above. Extremely strange. And folklore has it that the locals that know anything about it are afraid to say anything, because if they reveal the truth about the chains, there's a curse that will befall them. And apparently there's been a few newspaper people gone out there and trying to entice them with money, anything that they want, property somewhere else, and they won't dare talk about it. I find it extremely interesting. And I try researching, and there's very, very little information about these chains. And so if anybody that has really, really good researching skills can find out more, we love to find out more, because it's a complete and total mystery. And people go there It's become a tourist attraction.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, incredible stuff. And another thing that they say is that the chains look comparable to the ones that the Titanic had. Okay? And they show pictures of the chains of the Titanic to hold the anchors and stuff like that. And they do look similar, but the timing is off because this thing is supposed to be there over 1,000 years, these two chains.
Right.
Okay? And that doesn't coincide with, okay? And I believe that someone did a research and that, in the chains in the Titanic, you can tell where the welding is and so forth. Here, you can't. The other thing that was interesting is that the wear and tear on them is minimal. And at one end of it, they just hide into the ground.
The dirt.
Yeah,
Ground.
they just, So there hasn't been, I don't think, any extensive research on this stuff. And I don't
it's
know.
out in the desert?
No, it's not a desert. Venezuela is, no, it's, I wouldn't call it a rainforest, but it's green.
Oh, okay.
It's out in the middle of the town, nowhere. And the other thing is that these chains, the first thing you think of when you look at them is they belong to a big, huge ship, okay? But there's no body of water nearby, none whatsoever. So what are they doing there? And what the other thing is also with the story is that this big, huge chest that the Spaniards slept in, okay? Nobody has mentioned what was originally inside there because these chains were covering it, apparently to protect it, whatever it's on the inside. And nobody has ever said what was in there. And it's, I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
One link weighs 150 pounds. One link. So it's very interesting. It's a mystery. And there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super interesting. I mean, do we know while you were talking about that, I was also thinking about like the Nazca lines.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know why those were done?
The Nazca lines? We don't know for sure. I mean, I've read a lot about it. First of all, you can only make them out from the air.
From like an airplane level or something
Correct.
like that.
So, while you're walking through them, you're not able to discern that one of them is a spider, the other one is an astronaut, a bird, or one of them it looks like a man waving or an astronaut or something like that. So while you're on the ground, you can't discern that, and they go apparently for, miles, but you can only make them out from the air, which is quite interesting because when they did them, we weren't supposed to be able to fly, but somebody had to be able to guide them to do that. Now, you can do it nowadays with extremely sophisticated equipment that is guiding you, because if you're not being guided, they're going to be off for sure. You're going to sway back or whatever. It's not going to be anything close to what they are. So that's a mystery, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and that's in Peru.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have read about it is that, and I hope that somebody does something about it, they're not being maintained. And so they are degrading and falling apart. And, like if you took a plane ride, like in the 40s or in the 50s, they were much, much clearer and visible. But nobody's doing anything to maintain them. So it's definitely something that...
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I think it's a treasure for Peru.
Yeah.
It's,
And these are things that we just don't know the origins, or there's mystery behind it, or there's like a myth behind it. And
absolutely.
It's interesting that the chains don't have maybe an explanation other than the story that the people have.
And, there was one guy, most of the information that I found was in Spanish. That's number one. I found that to be an odd kind of thing, And second is, so limited the information, it's being pulled from the locals, like, being yanked out because they have this fear that there's a curse. if they reveal the truth behind the chains, they have this fear about this curse that will befall them. Kind of like when Howard Carter opened up the tomb of Tutankhamun. A lot of the people, this is more known now, but it wasn't known back then. A lot of the people died in strange circumstances. I think even Howard Carter passed away. So, when they opened up the tomb, they were afraid. From what I've read, a lot of the locals didn't want to go in first, and so the English had to go in first, I believe, because there was a fear of a curse of Tutankhamun, and a bunch of people died. One of them died from a mosquito bite, another one died from something else. On the evening that the tomb was opened, I believe the dog of one of the first people to walk in there had a stroke and died. Also, a canary died. You can find something if you're looking for it, right? But it is weird.
Yeah, it is.
It is weird, and I read a medical article where they said, look, maybe some of this stuff happened because, look, you opened up a tomb that had closed up for 4,000 years or whatever the case is, and it was stuffy. That air has been there stuffy. If there was growth of any kind of mold, you could have potentially breathed it in and affected your lungs, blah, blah, blah. So you can...
Trying to figure out an explanation for it. Yeah.
Another rabbit hole.
Yeah, like I think in the I don't know if it's in the Bible somewhere or where I read this, but the idea was that the Ark of the Covenant, like if it opened, the person would die, or somehow something would happen to the person if they were exposed somehow to the Ten Commandments. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, apparently, it was touched by the fingers of God, so that gave it a lot of power and energy. And so in the Bible, there are strict guidelines on how to deal with the ark. And I've read a lot about it. In fact, only high priests are able to come into the presence of the most holy. What was it? The Temple of Solomon. Solomon built a special place just for the ark. It was called the place of the most holy. And only the high priests could go in there. And you're not supposed to touch it. You're not supposed to do many things with it. There were strict guidelines. Apparently, the high priests that would take care of it over time would develop glaucoma, and their eyes, they would end up going blind. So if there was some kind of radiation there, in fact, there was one particular article that I read that was extremely interesting, that only one high priest could go into, be in the presence of the ark. And they would tie a rope around his ankle in case something happened and he fell dead inside. They would be able to pull him out with the rope. There's just a lot of interesting, tremendously interesting stuff like that.
Do we know where the Ten Commandments are? Do we have them?
No, I mean, you're talking about the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
They had the Ten Commandments. There's
they've been lost, basically.
Of course.
Yeah, we don't know.
With the Ark. But there's Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the country that proclaims that they have the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? And they have many churches throughout the country, and they have special days where they revere the Ark of the Covenant. And you have duplicates in several of these churches that are an identical because the Bible gives you the dimensions. And roughly, if I remember, it was 5 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. But it couldn't even be touched. It had to be held up on poles that went through specific, holes that they had on top, right? And the angels that they had on top and everything. So, it doesn't shake my faith. I'm a believer. But a lot of people are saying, look, this could have been a generator or something like this. It was touched by the hand of God. It had a lot of radiation. There are stories that they were climbing. I don't remember, maybe the Philistines. They were climbing up a mountain, and they slipped a little bit. And one of them touched the ark to try to stabilize it. And I believe in the story they say that man was turned to stone, to sand, right there, right immediately.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of. But look, the Bible does say a lot of things that are quite intriguing, because it's my understanding that the city of Troy was discovered, okay, because this gentleman opened up to where the Bible was describing it, and it kind of gave him like a floor plan to follow, and he followed what the Bible said, and he ended up finding the city of Troy, which was considered myth, and today is in the country of Turkey. So there's a lot of very nice stuff out there that you can lose yourself for hours, like I have, and it's, but very interesting stuff.
Very, very interesting. Cool. You want to wrap it up there?
Absolutely.
All right.
Take it.